to No Nonsense Nonprofits. Hey, I'm Sandy Ray, founder of Sandra E. Ray CPA, where we alleviate financial headaches so that you can create a bigger impact. Today, we're going to be talking about the forms 1023 and 1023EZ. Now, as many of you know, these are the applications to the IRS for tax exempt status as a public charity. If you're going for some other tax exempt status other than public charity, you're going to look at the 1024. But today we're just going to focus on the 1023. So what is the 1023 or the 1023EZ? As I said, these are the applications for public charity status with the IRS. The 1023 is the long form, the EZ is the short form. The EZ is also cheaper than the long form, and you get a faster response time from the IRS. But the EZ does have some eligibility requirements in order to file it, and the consequences of filing the EZ form in error could result in a loss of your tax exempt status. So I want to go over these two forms, talk about which one you can file and when, and some of the things that you need to have ready when you're getting ready to file them. So let's first talk about the differences between the two forms. Obviously, the EZ is a shorter form. The 1023, the IRS estimates that to take somewhere between 20 to 45 hours to complete. And they're acquiring all the documentation and that kind of stuff, in addition to filling out all the narratives that they have. While the actual EZ form, when you're online and filling that out because of the check boxes, generally takes about an hour, but still you have all that prep work to do. The EZ has very specific filing requirements. You have to be a smaller organization with gross receipts of $50,000 or less for the first 3 years. Now, that's usually the biggest hurdle for most people, the biggest unknown. So you really have to consider that seriously. Now, the 1023 form, it's 40 pages long. It has lots of narrative answers and requires a wide variety of documents that be attached to the application. Things like program brochures or advertising or your website or all kinds of things that have to be attached to it. The filing fee is $600, and the IRS response time is generally 5 to 8 months. This document needs to be filed within 27 months of formation of your organization. So they give you a little over 2 years from the time that you file with your Secretary of State that you're an entity. You'll file your 1023 application. The nice thing about this form is there's lots of examples out there. The IRS has a lot of FAQs that you can use to help you fill out your form to see what other people did that were successful. Any organization that's applying for public charity status can use the 1023 form. There's no restrictions on eligibility for this form. So it's basically you apply, if you're not eligible for the EZ form, the 1023 is the one that you want to use. Now, this form does have mandatory electronic filing. That's a change in the last couple of years. Now, for the 1023 EZ, it's 3 pages. Most of the answers are check boxes, and the filing fee is $275. This also is a mandatory electronic filing, but the 1023 EZ has tons of eligibility requirements. There's a worksheet on the IRS website. If you go to the instructions for the 1023 EZ application form, you'll find that worksheet there, but I'm going to list them out for you today. Annual gross receipts of less than $50,000 for the next 3 years. Your total assets have to be less than $250,000. Your organization has to be formed under US or US territory laws. You have to have a US mailing address. You cannot be a successor organization or controlled by an entity that was suspended for terrorism. You must be a corporation, an unincorporated association, or a trust. You cannot be formed as a for-profit organization or the successor of a for-profit organization. If your tax exempt status was previously revoked, or your successor organization had a previously revoked tax exempt status for any reason other than the automatic non-filing of the 990 for 3 years, you cannot file this application. You'll have to use the 1024. So as long as if you were revoked because you didn't file for 3 years, you can use the 1023 easy. If you were revoked for any other reason, do the long form. Another eligibility requirement is you can't be a nonprofit under any of the other IRS code sections. For example, you can't be a 501c6 and now applying for a C3. Generally, we have you set up a separate entity for that. The other thing you can't do is you can't be a church, a school, a university, a hospital, a college, a medical research association, an HMO, an agricultural research association, or a private foundation. And finally, you can't have or maintain any donor advised funds. Now, all these things, you have to comply with them, whether yes or no, or can or can't, in order to file the easy. And like I said before, if you can't file the easy, then do the full 1024 application. So now we've talked about the different requirements, kind of like the 2 different forms in general and what the eligibility requirements are. I want to talk to you a little bit about what you have to have ready in order to file the application. You need to have, first of all, your activities, past, present, and planned. What have you been doing? What are you doing now? What do you plan to do in the future? And submit that document. Anything that you have, pictures, narratives, printed materials, social media posts, anything that you can provide the IRS to support what you're saying in your narrative, attach it to that application. You're also going to need to have the compensation of directors, employees, or independent contractors. That's what have you paid in the past, what are you paying now, and what do you plan to pay in the future? You need to provide the IRS with any contracts and sales agreements with related parties. So if you have an officer who's given a loan or a founder who's given a loan to the organization to get started, that has to be disclosed. If there is a compensation agreement, that has to be disclosed. If there is a royalty agreement, that has to be disclosed. The IRS wants to know about your internal relationship structure, how things are going to work internally. They want to know what goods, services, and funds that you're going to provide to other organizations or individuals. So, what is your organization all about? What are you providing to your constituents? How are you working with other nonprofit organizations? They want to know about your fundraising programs. And they want a copy of all of your organizational documents. Now that's going to be your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, and of course, your bylaws have to stay in the event of termination of the organization. All remaining assets will be distributed to another similar organization. That has to be in the bylaws. And then finally, your conflict of interest policies. You're going to have to provide those. Yes, the 1023 application requires less time and less money. But if you're not eligible, the IRS can revoke your tax exempt status. So if you think there's a chance that your gross receipts may be more than $50,000 over the next 3 years, or you don't meet any of the other eligibility requirements for the 1023 EZ, go ahead and file the full 1023. You're going to do the work anyway as part of a good business plan. It's so $275 filing fee and waiting a couple months is really not worth taking the chance of losing your tax exempt status if you've used the wrong application form. I hope this was helpful for you today. And if you have any questions or have other topics you'd like us to cover, please put that in the comment section below. And of course, we always appreciate likes. Thank you for joining me today. And remember that creating a bigger impact starts with stopping the nonsense. If you're dealing with nonsense in your nonprofit organization, we'd love to help you cut through the noise.